Okay, it's 6:30. It's time to start our council meeting. I've asked Jim McNulty if he would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Did you see Kathleen Raby coming? She's right in the front row. Senator.
Okay, before we move on, I want to take a couple of minutes and talk about something that Jan and I witnessed a few weeks ago. We had a terrible fire in our district where there were two people, unfortunately, didn't survive. But we happened to be there at the moment that house caught on fire. And there was a lot of smoke, and then I looked over as we drove by, I looked over, and I saw two police officers, a man, a female, and a male police officer, and they were doing everything they could. Even when I've never seen anything like it. That house was all smoke, and then just that fast, we drove maybe 10 feet, and that house was fully engulfed in flames. And those officers were still trying to kick those doors in, trying to get people out of there. We think, and then the fire came, and they did the same thing. They fought valiantly to save those people and save property. And too often, we see the fire truck drive by, or we see it with a siren, or we see the police officer drive by, or sometimes we see him or her in our rearview mirror. And we don't take the time to think about what these men and women really do for us. I watch those two police officers and I watch those firefighters, and as Jim said earlier, they run too when we're all running away. And they all had their lives on the line trying to save people that they didn't even know. I can't tell you how much respect I have for them, and I think we all should have that respect. These men and women are the lifeblood of this city, along with the other employees, but they risk their lives every day to save us, and I witnessed it. It was heroic, to say the least, what these men and women do. I've never seen anything like that before, and I hope I never do again. And then the trauma that comes after, having to go in there and find that little girl and that grandmother in there and continue on with what they do. I mean, these men and women deserve our respect. You see them in the store, you see them in the 7-Eleven. Tell them thank you, because I'll tell you, they deserve it. What they do for us, we could never do for ourselves, and I really appreciate it. All right, moving on. Citizen comments. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Step to the microphone, state your name, city of residence, and Jan has a request form to fill out if you want to speak. Is there anybody that wants to speak?
Hi, my name is Melanie Sessions, and I really appreciate the fact that I'm here and I was able to go to the meeting right before this one. I know it sounds like you guys just have the really big job taking care of all of us, and I want you to know that we really, really do appreciate all the work that you do for us. And I also want to thank you so much for trying to help us keep our community good, and also with the fire and the recycling and everything like that. There's so much going on out here that we really just take it for granted, but we really do appreciate all that you guys do. I'm here to talk about the property at 6233 South. I live next door to it at 6231 South Fashion Boulevard, and I have a family there. Sorry, I talk a little bit too fast, but I was born in Murray in 1977. I've lived here all my life. I just recently was able to move to a different house and purchase it a couple weeks ago. That's why I didn't receive my letter. But I would like to keep this a residential area. I love Murray. I love the people in it. Everybody is nice, calm, and sweet, and I would just rather not have a commercial property when I walk outside my door. Don't want a business there with people going in and out and having my neighborhood disrupted in any way. I would just really, I like my neighbors. Everyone is really close to us, and we have very, all the nice little community that everybody wants in their life and neighborhood and family. And I really appreciate you guys taking care of us and trying to keep it that way. And thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Senator-elect.
Hi, my name is Kathleen Wiebe, and I am your senator-elect. I am a school teacher in Granite District. I'm currently on the state school board until January 1st. So I just wanted to come and introduce myself to the people at this meeting and say that I am available to meet with you guys, talk with anyone in the town. I'm really excited about this new opportunity. As a school board person, I went to lots of my local meetings, and I really try to meet your needs as much as I can. So please understand that if you need me, or you would like to talk to me, or if you'd like me to come to this meeting, I'll be coming maybe once every couple of months. For some reason, every town has their meetings like the first Tuesday of the month, so it gets really hard. But thank you so much for anyone who supported me, and I hope that I can be supportive as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator, and congratulations. Anyone else? Okay, we'll move to the consent agenda. I'll read the appointments that Mayor Camp will be presenting, and then I'll turn the microphone over to Mayor Camp. Consider confirmation of the mayor's appointment of Jeff Evans to Murray City Arts Advisory Board for a 2-year term to be completed January 15th, 2021. Consider the confirmation of the mayor's reappointment of Lisa Malkovich to the Murray City Planning Commission for a 3-year term to be completed January 15th, 2022. Consider the confirmation of the mayor's reappointment of Maureen Patterson to the Murray Planning Commission for a 3-year term to be completed January 15th, 2022. Consider confirmation of the mayor's reappointment of Sue Wilson to the Murray City Planning Commission for a 3-year term to be completed January 15th, 2022. Mayor Camp.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let me start with the appointment of Jeff Evans to the Arts Advisory Board. Many of you, if not all of you, know Jeff. He spent 8-9 years, I believe, on the Planning Commission. He's been a part of this community as long as he's been alive. Excuse me, as long as he's been alive. And his family's been very, very involved in the city. I received a correspondence from Jeff this afternoon saying he regretted he couldn't be here, but he would be watching from his hotel room. He's out of town, and he said he would give a virtual high five when his name was read. So, Jeff, there it is. He's very, very excited to be appointed to the Arts Advisory Board, and we're happy to have him there. The other three, excuse me, are as you mentioned, are reappointments to the Planning Commission. And let me just say, those of you that are on the Planning Commission, first Lisa Milkevich and Marin Patterson and Sue Wilson, thank you for your service in your first term. And I'm surprised and pleased that you're willing to do another one. That's not an easy job. That may be one of the hardest commissions to serve on in the city, and I'm not kidding. So thank you very much for your willingness to be reappointed. So I'd ask that you approve the consent agenda, and if you'd like to have them stand and be recognized, that would be great.
Could you stand and be recognized?
Please do.
Lisa, Sue, and Marin.
Sue and Lisa.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for
Thank
your
you.
service. We really appreciate it. And with that, I will make a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Jennifer?
Mr. Brass.
Aye.
Ms. Turner.
Aye.
Mr. Hill.
Aye.
Mr. Napotsky.
Aye.
Mr. Potts.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going on to our public hearing for tonight. consider an ordinance related to land use, amends the zoning map for the property located at 875 East Pontiac Drive and 852, 864, 872, 874, and 878 East Arrowhead Lane, Murray City, Utah, from the RM10 Medium Density Residential Zoning District to the GO General Office Zoning District. Jim McNulty.
Thank you, Councilman Cox. So let's go through that. You went through the addresses, so we have quite a few addresses associated with the property. You can see, there we go. So the property in question, you can see it's been outlined on the overhead. We have about 6.5 acres of property. It's UEA, a group that would like to have council consider the general plan amendment and the rezoning of this property. It's currently zoned RM10, which makes it a legal non-conforming use. They would like the property to be rezoned to general office, which is consistent with a lot of the office buildings across 900 East and in that area of about 5,000 South. You can see here, again, the RM10 zone. You can see that the property is bounded by Arrowhead Lane to the north, 900 East to the east, Pontiac Drive to the south, and additional single-family R1 residential homes to the west. Again, just some zoning of the general area. To the far north, we get into the Three Fountains area. Across 900 East and to the east, we have general office, a number of office buildings in that vicinity. So you can see that pattern of zoning is already established on the east side, as well as to the north, of the property is established in that GO zone. So here's our general plan land use map that we adopted in 2017. This property was not considered at that time for a GO type of zone. Again, these properties have been there for, the property's been there for quite some time. The two buildings have been there for quite some time. They were built in 1964. So they've been there for a good amount of time, and the applicants propose to keep that office type use. They're not proposing, and we have received a few calls, and maybe we have some public here to speak to that issue, and we had a couple show up at Planning Commission as well. I got this notice, what are they doing? What are they doing? And we've explained to them it's a cleanup. You know, we're looking to zone it general office to allow the two office buildings. You have the UEA building in the front, and you have the Volcom building in the back. And so looking at this, and let me just make sure I have this right, because I drove out there today making sure I have my coordinates right for the benefit of you and the neighborhood residents as well. I don't know why I went to that. So the upper left-hand picture, that's the west property line looking south, and that's the Volcom building. That's the building in the back owned by Volcom, which does telecommunications. The upper right drawing is from the north looking south, and that is the UEA building. So that's the north property line, and that's the one-story building. The Volcom building is the two-story building in the back. The bottom left-hand corner is from the south looking north across the UEA property, and the bottom right-hand corner is the west property line. So you can see that this is a very mature site. These buildings have been here for quite some time in an established neighborhood. There's very mature landscaping and buffering adjacent to the property lines, as well as the single-family residential neighborhood to the west. So this item was heard by the Planning Commission during a public meeting on October 18th of 2018. The Planning Commission held the public hearing and followed staff's advisement, recommending approval to the City Council for the requesting zone map amendment for the properties as outlined by Councilman Cox earlier, going from the existing RM10 zone, which is a residential multifamily zone, to the GO zone, which allows for general office use only, which is how the buildings are currently being utilized and have been for decades. And then the second motion that was made by the Planning Commission was for the rezone of the property, and they conducted a public hearing on October 18th and forwarded a recommendation of approval to the City Council for the zoning map request, changing the property from medium-density residential to GO, or general office. And so we would recommend that the City Council grant those two approvals tonight. And again, I hit it very quickly, but it's a cleanup. It's legal non-conforming right now. We just want them to be there. They're a good neighbor. These two buildings have been there for quite some time, and change is not proposed at this time in this area. Any questions for me?
I don't know about a question as much as a comment, but this strikes me as quite a bit similar to the Applegate issue we had not long ago, where somewhere along the line something had to have been entered wrong, because how do you build a commercial office building in a residential neighborhood unless it was zoned that way
Yes.
initially, and through multiple plan changes? That's 50
Right.
years ago.
The original zoning allowed for office use. It was in a multifamily zone, but that zoning at the time in the
time
60s
allowed
allowed for some office use. But when they rezoned it in the 80s to the RM10, it became legal non-conforming because that office use isn't on the use list anymore.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Applicant.
Thank you. Is the applicant present or sponsor? Would you like to speak?
You don't have to. No, you don't have to. You don't have to fill out a form. You're the applicant.
So am I.
We are too.
Thank you, thank you. I think that our concern is if there's anybody that has questions. I'm Brenda Pat. I work for the Utah Education Association. And through all this, we have wanted to mostly just continue to be a good neighbor. And so we want to be very open. We do not have plans at this time. Our building is aging, like was mentioned, and we really need to do some improvements on the building. And we sought out our members. We sought out our board of directors, and it felt like to us that our members really identify the UEA building as their home, and we love being there. We would love to stay there, but we need to be able to make some changes and improve our building and kind of bring it up to speed. So if anybody has questions, I would be happy to answer if I know. Anybody have any questions or concerns? Sure. Okay. Okay.
We can do this on public comment because you'll be able to speak as soon as she's through.
No, we
Sorry,
need it on the
I
record.
didn't mean to take over the meeting.
You're good.
Okay. If I can just kind of address that, through this process, what we want to do is we want to look at the improvements to our building without it overcoming the neighborhood. So whatever we choose to do to the building and we bring that back to the Planning Commission, that will be our first priority, is that we still maintain the same aesthetic look that we have now. So, anybody else? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry, now we'll open it up to public comment.
You're good?
Please, and Phil. Let's see. State your name and address if you
I'm
will.
Callie Wolf, and I'm at 801 East Pontiac Drive, which is right where we're talking about. I didn't prepare something prior to submit to her because we really didn't know what was going on, and we're pretty involved. So we got the notice like everyone else. And what my concern, I just want to know, is this opening the door for later on for something bigger, better, larger? That's our backyard where our patio is. We sort of see that west side parking lot. So we have big trees. But of course, we're concerned about the future. Is there something here that's making it so we've zoned it this way, and so that opens the door for us to build larger? Anyone?
Jim?
Okay.
Yeah, well, let's.
Yeah, that was pretty much my concern. Thank you.
Anyone else? Jim, do you want to come up and address that, please? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. The GO zone, the general office zone, limits height. And so the height cannot exceed 30 feet if it's within 100 foot of single-family residential homes. So we'd have to look at that. And then there's kind of a calculation in our code that allows a max of 40 feet. Now, in the single-family R18 zone that you're in, those homes are allowed to be up to 35 feet. So there's really not much difference there, but I don't see them getting much over 30 feet if any addition is proposed. They would be required to go through a public hearing process with the Planning Commission. You would be noticed. But we have to look at development standards. And some of the things that we would be looking at is, can they park the addition? How does it look? How does it feel? What about landscaping? So we're not going to let them overwhelm the site. They have to meet our development standards, and you would be made aware, and we'd have a public hearing. So we're looking out for the better good of the residents as well. But we'd like them to remain. To us, it's certainly, and most of the residents that did come in or call us, we'd much prefer this over them doing condos or townhomes or apartments in that area. We'd like that office use to stay here. So, okay? Yeah.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, with that, there's no other public comment. I'll bring it back to the council. Are there any questions?
No, like I said, to me, it's like fixing a clerical problem. It's been a general office. My parents moved into Three Fountains in 1973, and it was there, so it's always been there. And I think it was always UEA. So I'm comfortable with that. You know, again, when I first heard about it, I thought, wait a minute, I know that neighborhood, and then I realized it was those buildings. So I think we just need to fix it so that they can go and do the work they need to get done.
Okay, with that, any other questions? I'll look for a motion.
I would make a motion we adopt the ordinance relating to land use that amends the zoning map for property located at 875 East Pontiac Drive and 852, 864, 872, 874, and 878 East Arrowhead Lane, Murray City, Utah, from RM10 to GO.
Second?
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Jennifer?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. With that, we'll close the public hearing and we'll move on to the mayor's report.
Okay, thank you. Just one item tonight is all, and that is that we would like to report, many of you were here, but in fact, half the city was here for our tree lighting ceremony on December 1st. Was very successful. We had a long line of children and their parents and grandparents. Children were happy, grandparents and parents were, they were happy too. Okay. But anyway, I just wanted to give a shout out to Matt Erkland and the forestry crew for all the work that they did in getting that set up, getting the lights all working, and it went very well as the Shade Tree Commission members for all the work that they did in putting that together and making that another success. But that's all I have, unless you have questions.
Any questions for the mayor? Okay, the meeting's adjourned. Thank you for coming.